All right, looks like we're live. All right, so what's up, everybody? This is Marshall Couture, also known as Plex of DonkeyJawProjects.com, and you're listening to episode number 70 of the Escape Artist Podcast with special guest once again, 2 weeks in a row, Mr. Peter Palmiotti. How you doing,
Hello,
man?
hello. Doing good. Trying to catch up homework.
Absolutely. Work, work, work. So.
Yeah.
And I guess today's kind of my special birthday episode, just because it happens
Happy
to be
birthday.
my birthday. Oh, here we go again.
Yeah.
I gotta turn off my YouTube thing. Where is it?
Yeah. They should really make it automatically off.
Yeah. Well, it's my own fault for being plugged in. I probably, shouldn't necessarily be plugged in there. So, all right. So now the feedback is gone for me. I don't. You guys probably didn't hear that because I had my headphones on, but. So yeah, man. Man, we had a pretty cool episode last week, right?
It was excellent.
That was super fun. I'm glad. I was so glad that we were able to both do it together. It was like perfect. So I feel bad because like there was well, it's not really my fault. So how about that? Because I kind of wish you were able to be more involved because I asked all the questions, but at the same time, well, you asked a few at the end there, but Dan really took the show. He was like he was like the type of guy you just interview and it's like the easiest interview in the world. You just ask a question and he goes on for 20 minutes.
Yeah, personally, I thought it was really smooth, and I was thinking of jumping in, but there really, it went so smooth. It's like you say, he took the show in his hands and ran with it, and uh, you know, yeah, I thought it went perfectly, so I didn't have a problem with that. And he's such a nice guy. He posted it on his YouTube page as well. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and uh, just to mention, he did a storefront. You saw that, right?
Oh yeah, that was really cool.
That was awesome. Like he did a drawing on the glass, but it's just like immense drawing. He said it was his first big drawing,
Right.
um, but that's really awesome. He's a great guy, talented, definitely.
Absolutely. And if anybody here is tuning in and didn't listen to last week's episode, that was an interview with Dan Fraga. I always I used to always I before I heard his videos, I always called him Fraga. I thought that's how you said it, but apparently it's not. So Dan Fraga, and he used to work for Extreme Studios doing artwork for Bloodstrike and his own title Black Flag, and he's been a professional artist ever since in different ways. So I don't know, his really good interview, kind of a dream come true for me because I was a fan of Black Flag growing up and stuff. So that was really cool, and he's pretty much become a bit of a friend. We've been talking back and forth, so that was cool too. So yeah. Anyways, that
Awesome.
if you want to check that out, that was last week's episode, episode 69. And today, of course, we have Peter on again, which is really awesome. And we wanted to talk about, especially right in the beginning, and we'll probably bring it up again in the end. But I wanted to help Peter out a little bit here and do a little promotion for his GoFundMe because I guess he's had a bit of a catastrophe and is looking to move for some reason. So I guess, well, how about you talk about that for a little bit here?
Yeah, without giving the full story, I don't know. It'd take a couple hours. But no, the short version is that we're living in this community and it's got rules. But we've been here 2 years and they're only enforcing them. There's plenty of other people with pets, and we got pets, but they had an inspection a while back, and then everybody started getting notices in their mail stating that, we saw that you have a pet, you have to pay the charge, blah, blah, blah. And, we knew coming in, but, we didn't really have the cash, and nobody else paid. But like I said, they enforced it. So the drag of it is that we have 4 pets, and we can only have 1 here.
Right.
We have 4 cats. So it wasn't simply a matter of, paying for all the cats to be here. We can only have 1, and so we had to find. We looked into getting friends to take some of our cats. Just looked around for cat services, animal services, and just recently we found a sanctuary, a cat sanctuary, where they'll be willing to, house our cats for an extended period of time until we can move out of here and get in a better situation where we could have all of them together.
Right.
So, my girlfriend and fiance Lisa looked around at homes, at rentals, at mobile homes, all kinds of different things in town and outside of town, but in the same area. Lisa's family is here, and personally, I don't care where I live. So as long as I can, catch a plane somewhere near here, I'm fine with that. And so we went through a couple of different solutions, places to live. A lot of them have similar rules. A lot of them, like, you can only have 1 pet, or they don't want cats or dogs or whatever tearing things up, or in homes and stuff. So really, the only 2 solutions we found were a mobile home, but that didn't work. It was just smaller than where we're living now, and we're crunched in as it is. So we wanted something bigger, and a house we found, which actually turned out to be a home with attachments. So we can move there. It's a fixer-upper. There's a lot of work involved. But we took a look at the house twice and really fell in love with it. It's a good piece of land it's on, and it's 3 bedrooms, so we can each have our own studio, as well as the master bedroom, which is huge, and plenty of room for the cats to run around, and plus most of them, they all like going outside. Only 2 of them go outside all the time.
Right.
But the option is there. You get to play outside. And what else? There's a lot of work that's going to needs to be done. But we'll be able to move in there, get some things fixed, and get all the cats there and live all together. So that's the short version.
Did you say it's a mobile home with attachments?
Yeah, it's actually it was a mobile home that they added a huge 2-car garage, and on the right side is actually the kitchen, dining room and living room, are new to were added to it as well.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, it looks like
we
kind of like almost like a ranch type of house, but now that you're saying that,
yeah.
I can see that, and that garage is huge. Holy crap. That's your new
Yeah, it's
studio,
like,
right?
we can move in there. We can move in there, like split the garage in half and have storage for other people.
Wow, nice.
It's so big. Um, but yeah, I'm sure you'll put the link in the description box.
Oh yeah, it's already in there.
It's a big house, a good piece of land. The neighbors are far away, farther than anywhere I've lived. I'm from New York, so we're all on top of each other there.
Yeah,
But we have you know, it's a big house that will definitely suit us for the rest of our lives, really. And it's nothing we're looking to do today, but we did think down the line, we'll rent a house, we'll buy a house
yeah,
a couple of years from now. But this is an opportunity not only to keep all our pets, um, but to, you know, uh, get a home for ourselves for, really cheap. Yes, that's because it needs work, and I'm sure part of that's because it's just, originally it was a mobile home, but it's really a deal we can't possibly pass up. So we created the GoFundMe, and anyone who wants to help out can go there and pledge any amount, or at the very least, share it with your friends, get the word out. Just I appreciate it, Lisa appreciates it, and all our pets will definitely appreciate it.
absolutely. And just to kind of further add a little bit here is, I don't know how long it's been, maybe 5 years, or it seems like forever, but in internet years, but it's been a while since me and you started talking here and there on the onlines and internets and and you
Right.
know if nothing else, Peter has, I know for sure, invested in time and effort and just friendship in my life, and he's always been there as an encouraging person and helpful and giving me tips here and there. I actually look to like guys like you and Jeff Lafferty and Kevin Cross as like kind of mentors for me. Um,
Mhm.
and I mean, you're nothing but generous, when it comes to helping other artists and just being friends and stuff, and sharing people's links and things like that. Like, so I mean, to me, like when I found out that the GoFundMe thing was finally live, I mean, it was like, within the hour, I threw some money in there. I not much because I don't have a lot of money myself, but I threw something in there because it's like it's a no-brainer. He helps a lot of us out in different ways and is just friendly, and there's no reason. Of course I want to help out. Because I kind of feel your pain, and and
Mhm.
I think it's kind of investing into to basically your career too in some ways, because you're going to have a base of operations, and you'll be able to have, like you said, your cats and your fiance and stuff. You'll have like a nice place to just like really just do what you need to do and stuff. So I don't know, it's kind of, I think it's cool, and I definitely like, I don't know. To me, I just feel like it's going to a good thing. It's going to a good place. So if anybody out there is interested in, helping Peter out, throw maybe $20 in there or whatever you can. And yeah, I don't know if we'll get any listeners live, but it would be cool if we could kind of boost that thing up to maybe like 100 more or something, or 50 more or whatever, while we're doing this broadcast. That'd be sweet. But you know that's all. I guess that's all I'll say about that. But I just really, you know, I really believe in in what Peter's doing, and he's dedicated to comics. You know, I mean, I've never, but when everybody, including myself, is is saying, you know, comics is a dead end, you know, place to try to get work. You know, Peter, all the while, Peter's holding the torch and doing it. You know, he's doing, you know, paying bills with his inking work and doing what he needs to do. And you know, it's sometimes it's more a struggle than others, but you know, he's an encouragement to me for sure because you know, a lot of times you know, I'm a little down on the whole comics thing as a career for my own self, but it's kind of crazy. Like you just can't stop doing it. Once you get it in your blood, it just doesn't go away. So I will end up doing comics, you know. So and it's awesome to have somebody out there who's actually, you know, making it work, you know. So
Yeah, you know, I won't deny that it's difficult, and um, it is that sort of thing you take on, and it's not a quick job, you know, like doing an issue of a comic takes a long time, you know. It
right.
takes if you if you're doing it with a team individually, it could take 3 weeks to a month, you know. For a penciler to work on a book, for an inker to work on a book, for a colorist to work on a book. Um, if you're doing it alone, it takes even longer, and anybody following any D100 knows that, you know, this stuff doesn't happen overnight, especially if you have a day job or just client work, paying work, whatever. We're doing it in between everything else in life and stuff. I'll never deny that. You know, it's like any job. You know, it's really have to put 110% in to get anything out of it, and it is a difficult territory out there as far as you know. It's easy to promote your book, but it's not easy to get people to buy it or to rave about it, and you know, it's
Right.
all a process. But you know, I've been doing comics since 1991. Just recently, I sort of shifted. You know, what my plan was. You know, I was trying to make just money, working on my own creations, comic books, doing art. You know, I was doing sketch cards and illustrations and commissions and all that. And I was making some progress, um, but I decided to make the shift back into inking because you know, we're falling a little behind on bills, which you know we are caught up on most of them right now, which is great. Um, but it's something I you know, I'm 110% confident in my ability. Um, the page rates aren't what they used to be, but I know I can, you know, cover the cost of our living status. You know, it's like we're not living a high life out here. Even, you know, even moving into the house we're going to be moving into, the cost will almost be the same. We'll be paying a little more for utilities and whatnot because everything's sort of included over here. But you know, you know, we're not seeking a $100,000 house or $1 million house or something.
Yeah.
Um, so you know, like, but I love the comic industry. I love creating stories, no matter how I'm a part of it. And with what I got going on now, I see myself extremely busy, not only working on other people's creations, but my goal is to do my own as well. You know, it's sort of like the biggest challenge before me is how to accomplish this. You know, it's difficult by itself to work on one of your own personal creations. Like I got my book called Bright Eyes, which will kind of be my main focus, because that's all me. I'm writing it, penciling it, inking it. I'll be coloring it, lettering it, all that jazz. So I can totally, utterly work via my own schedule. And it's hard enough to do one book. I got that. I got a, sort of a comic book strip called Neon Eden, which I do have a co-writer on that. I have my superhero title, which all goes well. I'll be kickstarting this year, called, and I have a team on that. I have a penciler, a friend of mine.
What's the name of that? It blocked out right when you said the title.
Yeah, Retro.
Okay, Retro. Okay.
Yeah, Retro, my superhero title. Rich Future is the penciler, and I'll be inking as well as writing. I got a colorist, a letterer, so it'll be a whole team, and I really want to, pay these guys some money to be working on that. So I don't know if I can make that a real, I'd love to make it a bi-monthly, but not unless we have the funds to do that. But I'll kickstart an issue at a time. I'm not sure what the big picture on that will be, but I do know, it'll be a good-looking superhero title.
Absolutely. Cool, man. Yeah, so that's awesome. And obviously you're super busy right now, but I think it's really encouraging with like what Kevin's doing and stuff. And I mean, I think that's why the 100s has become such a big thing, because his thing is so encouraging, because he's he's pretty much 100% busy with what he has to do, taking care of his daughter and working on client work, but he's still finding 30 minutes a day to do his own thing. And and you're super busy right now, so I can understand why you're not able to do that just yet, but I'm sure you will be in the future, jumping on that again. You already did it 100 days, so, and you got a lot of progress done.
Yeah, it is on my to-do list. I will be coming back to the 100s. I figure, I want a new schedule, as well as deal with this whole house situation. If I move, I don't want to be in the middle of moving and
Right.
and the 100 days as well.
Yeah, that would be really hard. Pretty much when you move, a lot of times pretty much everything stops for at least a week or two, if not more.
Yeah,
especially when it's a fixer-upper.
yeah. There's a lot I'll be doing to the house to get it started, and continuing to make it better.
Maybe years from now, when you're a famous comic book artist, we'll be talking about the story of when you moved and the first thing you did was get your art desk in there so you could start inking pages right away like Jack Kirby.
Oh yeah, I told Lisa, I was like, we're gonna go from this apartment to the house, in one day. I'm gonna have my studio set up. Anything else is extra.
Absolutely. I always end up doing that anyways. Like when I move, like I don't say I'm gonna do that, but I can't help it. I have to have my place, my spot to work.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah. That's a definite.
There would be no pictures on the wall, and all the other rooms will be boxes, but my studio's all set.
Yeah, so when we move into the house, it would be like there'll be internet, so that won't be delayed. And
yeah, that's like the first thing.
Of some kind. Yeah.
Nice. So yeah, I mean, basically we already started getting into the topic that I was thinking was basically basically being a professional artist and making a living doing this stuff. And I think it's really interesting because, like, with the marketing stuff that I'm always researching and whatnot, excuse me, one of the biggest things that people talk about is you need to get connected with people who are doing what you want to be doing. And you need to, find some kind of mentor or some people who, can kind of teach you some things that know more about it than you, and things like that. And like I said before, I kind of look to you and like Jeff Lafferty and all you guys is, that it kind of dawned on me recently, like, I'm thinking about, like, I always want to do this, and I'm like, oh man, it's so hard, like nobody can ever do it. And then I'm like thinking, wait a minute, half of my friends do it, why can't I do it? Like, because I kind of forget that you guys are actually kind of doing it. And one thing that I appreciate, especially with the Artcasters, working hangout that Jeff Lafferty does, is it's like, if anybody were to say I was applying for, a job doing freelance art or comics or whatever, which doesn't make any sense because you don't apply for that job, it just is. But say I was doing that, the first thing you ask at a job thing is, okay, what is a day like, a typical day at this job, what's it like, so you can get a feel. And I can see that every single day at Artcasters, and I mean, I know you guys are like talking about movies and things like that sometimes, but it just, I've seen it through Jeff Lafferty's videos, and I've seen it just through your videos, and just a lot of these guys' videos. It's not like, it's the reality of it. It's not like, oh yeah, become a freelance artist, quit your job, and it's going to be awesome. It's like, it's pretty much just like a regular job. Sometimes you guys are kind of complaining, a little bit about certain things, and you don't like feel like doing this, you'd rather be doing that. And so it's like, it's a good dose of reality, but at the same time you are doing something that you love, and you're, providing for your household with it,
Yeah, it's what I always say is, no matter what you love, if you want to make a career out of it, you're going to have those days where you don't want to get out of bed, you don't want to do anything with art, you just want to maybe go out, you want to whatever. The good thing about being, a freelance artist or working in comics is that you can make your own schedule. I mean, you can, at the drop of a hat, go out and see a movie or go shopping or, go hang out with friends or whatever. You can, but you really have to have a good sense of, just discipline and commitment to what you are doing, because it's long hours. And as far as I'm concerned, working on comics is a 7-day-a-week job, and especially if you're working with teams, things are constantly in a state of, well, I didn't get those 2 pages to ink, so I have to jump on another project to keep the money flowing, or it's constantly juggling and keeping in contact and communication with others, and making sure you're doing your quota. If you got rent, that's a certain amount. If you got utilities, that's a certain amount. You got to make that money, and if the penciler didn't get you 3 pages but got you 2, you got to make that other page up somehow. You got to do a commission. You got to sell 20 prints. You got to whatever. You got to make sure that money comes in. And that's part of the job. That's a big part of the job, in the sense that, I've known in all my years of doing working in comics, uh, whether I was, when I was really highly successful or just in the trenches of independent comics, not making as much or whatever. Um, I was busting my ass 90% of the time just trying to get the next job. It's not so much the jobs itself; it's getting the work.
Right.
And you do that, 100 different ways. Sure, you talked about it a lot, like in relation to like freelance working. You can get it simply by sending one person an email or 1,000 people emails, or
Right.
you can make phone calls, or you can go to conventions, or you can go to gatherings, or you can go to the comic store and just happen across a job, or you have to put yourself out there, regardless of how you're doing it, and say, look, I'm available. This is the quality of my work. And us being on YouTube, making videos all the time and showing off our work is a great way to do that. But that doesn't guarantee you work either. It's going in that will hire you, in the sense of comics as publishers or teaming up with pencilers or writers, whatever gets the job done.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Mhm.
So, would you say that being on YouTube doing like this Artcasters thing all the time and all the other videos you've done has gotten you some gigs?
Um, I maybe. Um, I don't think I'm as much of a presence as some others just yet. I'm growing. It's like I'm getting more subscribers and more views. Um, there's, people that I talk with online weekly. While I'm doing this. Um, but no, nobody's approached me and said, "I'm giving you this job because I saw you on YouTube." uh, I
I'm
think,
sure.
I
Oh,
think I've been doing everything else for years and years longer. So this is kind of the recent thing, for how long I've been doing it now, which is technically I'm not even sure. I started and stopped and started and stopped twice before I started doing this consistently. Um, so I think it's only been 6 months. I don't know. Maybe it's been longer. I'm just losing track of time, but which is easy to do when you work 7 days a week. Um,
yeah. Yeah, no doubt. So, let's see. I think it's like kind of a culmination, it seems like, of a lot of things. I think that's what I'm getting, at least from hearing you guys talk and all that, and some other. I also talk about the GTS movement, the guys who I work with as far as the marketing stuff with the beats and hip hop stuff. And what I'm finding is that and this is something that always has been odd to me. Like I'm like, okay, which direction should I go in? Okay, I don't want to just go into comics only because that's, will that be able to pay the bills? Or maybe I should do commissions, but will that be able to pay the bills? Like whatever it is, like. But what I'm finding out is it ends up being a lot of times it ends up being like a combination of a lot of things that helps pay the bills. You might get, a commission here, you're doing some inking pages there, you got, maybe some money coming in from different sources, and that's actually what ends up, helping you actually make a living. And it's hard to see that, I think, when you're like, I just want to make art for a living, you don't think of how creative you have to be with getting your stuff out there in a lot of different ways, and also with just like contacting people, and then just all the different avenues to make money.
Yeah, it's part of its choice. It's like you could focus all your energy on one thing and probably, make yourself a hit. Like, if all you did was like say like you're doing now, like you're doing paintings on YouTube. If that's all you did consistently, you know, and you can make that a living. You can make that what you do. You can master it, become an expert at it, and you don't have to be on Facebook or Twitter. You could just be on YouTube. You can grow your channel. You just focus all your energy on that one thing and that one thing exclusively. I think it could work for you, but like any business, you go to McDonald's, you don't just buy a cheeseburger. They
Right.
have other things. They're not like masters of one thing. It's fast food. It covers a lot of territory, and they're constantly updating their menu. And you have to think, and they're not even exclusive to their store. They do other things as well as a business, overall business. So we do YouTube, we do Facebook, we do Twitter, we do prints, we do commissions, we do sketch cards, we do comics, we do comics for other people, we do comics for ourselves. We go to conventions, make money that way. We do store appearances. The list is wide and varied. And I was just telling Lisa the other day. It's like, I'm a bit psychotic in what I want to achieve. But that's what gets me excited. That's what gets me amped to challenge myself.
Right.
If it was easy, then I'd be bored.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. That's cool. And yeah, I think it's important to have, big goals, and let your dreams be like real dreams, and not just like, I tend to do it. I don't, they say like, really just like shoot for the stars, and if you get to the moon, you did pretty good. At least, you did that. But you know, I tend to just be like, sometimes I think a little too small, but I do have the big dreams too. So I don't know, but I'm always just focused on, I want to make a living doing this. Um, but I don't know. But one thing that was really encouraging too, actually, Gaz, what is his name? I know
Gazbot,
everybody calls him Gazbot, but like, what's his
I
actual
think
name?
it's Gary uh, Grosky or something,
Hmm.
something like that.
Cool. Yeah. Well, he
But
commented on one of my videos, and he was talking, because I was talking about, trying to, as I always do, trying to make a living doing this stuff, and he said something I thought was interesting, and I'm sure you can relate to, is, basically, because I always talk about, well, maybe, my skills aren't necessarily up to the levels of yours or like Jeff Lafferty's or something like that. But one thing he said that was really encouraging was, it's not really so much about the talent, it's more about, being responsible, being an actual professional, and like meeting your deadlines and things like that. If you can do that, you'll be like head head over heels, above the competition, because there's a lot of people who can't do that, which I haven't been able to do that sometimes myself, but
yeah, I mean, everything's important, but definitely, yeah, keep a schedule, keep consistent, trying to, make those deadlines, as well as uh, I've but I constantly don't give up. Regardless of like you can miss deadlines, you can miss opportunities, but if you constantly put yourself in the game and constantly keep working and constantly keep producing, then people know that. It's like there's the graph of like things that will get you work in this industry, and one of that is like do great work. Meet deadlines is probably the other one, and be a likable person. So I've always been try to do great work, and that's how people know me by. I try to be a nice person, and that's definitely worked in my favor. Deadlines, I'll be honest. It's like sometimes I'm a highly perfectionist.
Right.
But it's always something and it's my personal demon I'm in battle with. But definitely, like, I think you got the talent. If you just go forth with it, you'll be incredible. Just keep drawing, keep painting, and I think you'll do fantastic work. And it's a matter of making a name for yourself, and doing what you're doing currently, 100 Days of Painting. That's a good start. People know you as an artist online and in person. I could see like maybe doing something above and beyond what you're doing. Maybe like doing gallery openings. Like, what do illustrators do? What do painters do? Looking from it from a business standpoint. How do you stand out, or how is your face in the public as an illustrator, as a painter?
Right.
And to make that consistent, like, I've been doing comics for years. I let all my friends know. I let perfect strangers know this is what I do for a living. Here, come check out my work. It's like I get gigs because people know I'm doing this.
Right.
Specifically to comics, and that's kind of work. Now it's like, okay, I was working for DC, I was working for Marvel, but that was years ago. And if I tell a publisher that, they're kind of impressed, but because it was so long ago, nobody's like looking to give me sort of the rates I deserve.
Right.
I haven't been really published regularly for years.
Right.
In the last 10 years, I've had numerous independent books come out, but nothing with consistency.
Right.
I mean, you look at any great inker in the industry, they constantly have published work.
Right.
And just talking about it from a business standpoint is, you just, that's where the proof is. That's, that
Right.
you're constantly doing work, doing it well, and making a presence.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah, no doubt, man. So yeah, I appreciate the encouragement there, and I think it is possible. I think that's what's kind of what I'm getting from kind of watching you guys is that it is possible. Um, so I'm definitely excited about that. I think that for me, it's a big part of it too is watching you guys is kind of when you're working on the 9 to 5 like a regular day job for as long as I have, which has been my whole life. Hey, I'm 36 today, so 30. I don't know, not 30 years, but like 25 years or however long I've been working. You know, it's hard to even imagine yourself doing art for a living, because the way you make a living is by, you know, doing whatever you do in your day job. So it's kind of your mindset kind of needs to change. So watching you guys, it's like, okay, now I'm seeing these guys do it, and if I can kind of imagine myself doing what these guys are doing, um, it's starting to help me change that because it's going to be kind of a hard transition. I mean, personally, I have to build up a transition where I'm at least making half or maybe 3/4 of what I make, doing what I do right now before I actually jump in because, there's no like quit my job tomorrow and start. Like I have to have the ball rolling somehow, some way. I mean, even Jeff Lafferty, when he quit his job, it's not like he jumped in not knowing that, thinking that he wouldn't be able to sell art. He's done it before, and he was already starting to do it with the paintings he was doing at the time. So,
Yeah, well, he created the business running effectively to a certain point. He knew it would be a risk. And if you listen to his first 25, his first 50 videos,
right.
it's like he wasn't always sure. He wasn't always like this is gonna work, and he never said that every video. It was like, well, this week you made some money, and I hope to make some more to make my quota for the week. You know, um, so you have to have a certain amount of yes, this is going to work, and you could pretty much set that up right now. If your goal is to make a living off of doing paintings, set okay, like if ultimately you quitting your day job and doing paintings and illustration and comics for a living, you'll need say 500 a week.
Right.
If you work at this part-time weekends, whatever, and start making some money and build it up to 300, 400, I would think you'd be good to go. You can make that leap
Yeah.
because you're more than halfway there. Um, knowing that ultimately that's your goal, if you take you know part of your day job money or part of the income you make now selling any art or whatever, and build up a buffer. Like I heard even before I did art for a living, um, that if you have 6 months, if you have a year of income, put away, saved up. That was the way to go. I personally didn't do that. But it is a smart idea. I mean, there's ways to make it safe,
Right.
or safer than just randomly. Okay, it's Thursday. I'm gonna quit my day job and check in.
Man, I'm so tempted to do that sometimes. I'm like, some days, man, I'm just like, I'm like feeling like, could you please fire me because I'm done. But
Yeah.
if they did, I'd be screwed. So, but yeah, absolutely. That's absolutely, a good way of looking at it. To try to make a transition, and um, yeah, and that's making me think it's more possible. I mean, if I made $500 a week, I think that would actually do the trick because, my check, I actually don't even make $400 a week, but that's, before taxes or after taxes, I mean. So, you kind of got to factor that in too. And then, I have to do health insurance too. I can't, like, I don't have anybody else providing that for me. So, and that's something I
Right.
absolutely need. I can't just like go without it, unfortunately. But so
There,
I think I'm
there
gonna try
is.
to get into doing that independently, anyways, because I pay too much through my job, anyways.
There is a lot more to consider, and it's there is that stuff and emergencies. I mean, if you have a medical emergency, your first week in, and you
Right.
can't work the second week for whatever reason, you gotta have that buffer built in. Oh well, you don't have to have it, but you have to be aware of these things, uh, either before or during. Like just
Right.
stuff happens in life. And it could ruin you. It's like I've seen plenty of guys, uh, especially, who had great careers. Then all of a sudden, they have a medical issue, and 3 weeks later, you're hearing that they're losing their house
Wow.
or something. It's like crazy stories, but it's reality. That you have to sort of just as a grown up deal with.
Yeah.
Uh, having a day job sort of makes life easy for people, and you don't really realize that until you're in the thick of trying to create your own business, which
Right.
is what being a freelance artist is.
Yeah.
You're a business, and you have to be responsible for everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I mean, that's kind of like the reality that I can see from you guys, and it's cool that I have that because, like, a lot of, I'm sure a lot of, especially when you're young, and I was this way probably too when I was younger. You kind of look at, the idea of being a freelance artist or just being an artist for a living, and you're like, heck yeah, that's what I want to do. Like, it's so fun. I have so much fun drawing in my room when I'm, not at school or not at work. You know what? It's gonna be like the best thing in the world if I could do that. But in the end, it's work, and it's just as hard work as anything else. And to me, I've gotten that dose of reality, and what I also think is I'm gonna be working hard and sometimes struggling or whatever, whether I'm doing art or not. So why not do it for art? And another thing too is like a lot of people will say, well, that's not a very secure, you want job security, and stuff like that, but people don't realize it can actually be more secure to be a freelance artist than it is to, have a regular quote unquote day job, because when you're a freelance artist, you have multiple clients and customers, and if you can get the money flowing, from a lot of different areas, if one of those areas dries up, it's okay because you can just replace that by trying to, you got to work for it, but if you can just find one more client, you'll be back to where you were. Whereas if, you're doing your day job and your one client that you have decides they don't want you anymore, you're out of a job, you know? So it's like you only
Yeah.
got income coming from that one thing.
Most definitely. It's. I think I might mention on Jeff's show, but I have a friend of mine. Before I started in comics, I worked 10 years. Part of it was when I was in college. I started working for a living. And then I went on. I was a messenger who eventually worked myself into working in mailrooms. To the point where I was, in charge of a mailroom. Um, and it it was a great experience. And I went to art school and I went to college for art. And I decided, halfway through what should have been 4 years of college that, I really didn't want to do art for a living. It was too personal to me. It was too something.
Right.
And I decided just to take any job, any regular job, and messenger. I love to walk. That made sense. Eventually, working in mailroom. It's a lot of people look at it as grunt work, but it needs to be done, and I loved it personally because it was a lot of, well, what do you want? How can I help you? That's sort of how I approach my life anyway. So it was easy and fulfilling. But it came one day that an opportunity, and it was only like a one night thing. It was helping my brother who was helping an artist, well, an inker, on a book to make their deadline. I was just called on to fill in some blacks as a favor, but also as a way to make some money, extra money. And would I want to? And I jumped at the chance. Yeah, I needed some extra cash, but it was more like, it was for comics. It was for a comic that would be published. Um, Something, I've only drawn and tried to make a couple of comics on my own previously. But it was that one experience that changed my whole lookout, I was 28 and I wasn't super committed to anything. Um, I was still in many ways a punk kid, just being selfish and doing my own thing and partying and whatever, with no real direction in life. Yeah, like I made advances in my career and I've made more and more money. Um, but still, there was a big piece of me that was like, where am I really going?
Right.
Because it seemed like, yeah, well, I was moving up the ladder. I was like, going from mailroom gig to mailroom gig. I mean, how much further up the rungs can I go? Uh, it was like I was changing jobs every 2 years. To go to a different company to make more money. It wasn't like I was staying anywhere for long. So I made that leap. Uh, with that one night of helping out, it was like, yes, art is my true love. Yes, I could see making this a living, And initially I did it part-time. The decision happened that night, but going part-time to full-time was probably at least a year.
Right.
And it was a lot of being an assistant. It was a lot of looking for jobs, which was a lot of putting together a portfolio of my work. Trying to get better, because I knew day one of me deciding to do it that I wasn't good enough. Sure, I've been drawing all my life, but I wasn't. I tried to do nice pieces in art school and whatnot, but I wasn't really committed for excellence.
Right.
I wasn't really, where it was like a do or die situation.
Right.
And by doing it full time, it became that. Like if I didn't do enough, a good enough job, if I didn't get it in a reasonable amount of time, if I wasn't, a nicer guy than all the rest, and so on and so forth, if I wasn't better for some reason, then I wouldn't get the next job.
Right.
To be in that position, changes your whole focus, makes you committed. Taking on leave really changed me
Right.
as a person.
Well, they do say that, like I've heard a lot of people say that, a lot of people sometimes lose their job and they're kind of forced into, you know, finding out what to do, and then, they end up being like, well, you know, maybe this is my opportunity to like actually do what I've been wanting to do all my life. And I'm not saying that's what you exactly had, but I think you kind of got a taste of what it was like to be an artist, and then you were just like, yeah, this is it, this is what I'm going to do. And maybe you had a situation where you were able to kind of make that leap, and um, and then you get to a point, I guess, where you're like you said, like, now I have to do what I have to do to make this thing work. And I think that kind of need, that like I have to do it or else, like that sink or swim type of thing, is sometimes really helpful.
Yeah, and the good thing is that it doesn't always have to be that dramatic or that uh, you know desperate or
Right,
whatever.
right,
You can just really know what you want, and you know like you're doing, like look upon the experience of others and how they're working and what works for them, and just make logical, smart choices and go for it.
right,
And you know, uh, just an excellent example of somebody who's made that leap, like quit his day job and is working for him. But he built an audience before he made that leap. It's grown since then. He's making more money now. He's
right,
producing more now. But he had the framework ahead of time.
right.
You know. Um,
And he's like one of those people, like, kind of, I think of him, I think of people like Jonathan Rector or something like that, where you know you would kind of be like, you see their artwork and you're like, the typical thing that most non-artists say to artists is, "Wow, that's amazing. You should do that, make money doing that or whatever. Like, why aren't you doing that instead of whatever job you're doing?" And it's like, I love that, I see Jeff doing it and sitting, like, the thing is like, I could easily look at Jeff's stuff and be like, well, yeah, of course he's doing it. Look at how amazing his art is. I'll never be that good, type of thing. Um, but in all reality, it's not necessarily, I mean, that's a big part of it, doing great work, but it's not necessarily that is making him make a living, because there's a lot of artists out there who do have a level of finish that's similar or at least comparable to that, and they're not able to make it work, for whatever reason. But it's not the nuts and bolts of what has made it work for Jeff is building it up over time, and creating that audience. And he always talks about that whole metaphor of like the locomotive. You got to just kind of get the ball rolling, and once you get the momentum started a little bit, then you can start to kind of build off of that, and you kind of build an audience that way, and that's encouraging to me.
Yeah, and it's regardless of artistic level, there's a lot of people there that are, like make great decisions on what to do, how to do it, how to promote themselves. Like careers are made overnight sometimes, and those are the lucky few. But like I have a friend of mine that he was the guy, along with his friend partner, who did those. I don't know if you remember they had like dinosaur T-shirts years and years ago with their names, but they were also sayings. I don't know any dinosaur names off the top of my head.
Huh.
Uh, uh, I'm bad.
Tyrannosaurus Rex or
Tyrannosaurus
Brontosaurus
Rex, like Tyrannosaurus Burger. I don't know. It was like it was kind of like silly and using their name and making it into something else. But it was some good drawings of the dinosaurs on the T-shirt with the word and maybe the definition below it.
right.
And those were like super hot. I mean, he took that money and created his own comic book and used that money to pay for expenses. And he did a comic book called Rat Bastard, which is a
Oh
talking
yeah,
rat.
I know that. I definitely
Yeah,
know about that guy because I like his comic. I bought his comic.
yeah. Cliff Gareth, I believe it is.
Is that his name?
Um,
I remember.
yeah, and there's a guy. He made his success by an idea that took off.
Yeah.
And then followed it up. With what he really wanted to do, which was a comic book.
Right.
And so that was just like a random idea that worked for him and his partner, and did them really well. I've seen a number of people who, and Kevin Cross was one, and like who did T-shirt creations, and made some good money off of them.
Right.
That's it's like you don't have to do uh, the best art. Sometimes it's also like the idea behind it.
Yeah.
Like Will Terrell always says, like what's important is the story.
Right.
Um, in the case of like the dinosaurs with the funny sayings, it's like, it's humorous. Humor sells. But it's also creating a little story unto itself by, this silly way the name of the dinosaur is spelled, and the description below it. It really created a unique sort of experience and something you show off to your friends. Everybody loves showing off their t-shirts.
Right.
How silly they can be and whatnot.
Right. Yeah, no, there can be different steps, and yeah, that's something that's cool to think about too, because like I was saying, like when you're not in the game, you have a hard time imagining how it will actually work. And obviously, like from a young age, I was like, I want to be a comic artist, and like I had no clue what I was talking about though, but like, you know, it just seemed like a fun job, and I love comics. So, but I think you're right. Like the story behind it, like you can find other avenues, and I don't know. That was just one thing. But then, also, like I guess as you become more on a professional level, like you're making a living or whatever, I think you get less picky, like about like where how the money comes from, like, and also like the whole idea of I don't know, like people some in some circles, being a sellout is like a big deal, and it's like artists can be like really harsh on each other for what they do, like, oh, you're only doing that because it's making money, but when you're doing this stuff for a living, you're like, yeah, that's the point. Like, I don't really care, like, I mean, obviously you want to keep a level of, artist integrity and stuff, which, but there's a lot of things that just really, it's not that, it's not even an issue of integrity, but when you're not a professional artist, you might think like everything is, I guess. But like,
It's Yeah, it's definitely easy to say. Like
yeah,
when you're young, it's like I'm gonna do this and only this, and it's gonna be, only a certain way. I'll never draw nudity. I'll never, you can make a whole list, and it's like that's like when you're young and you're living in a black and white world, and
right,
but when you're adult and you have responsibilities, it may be as simple as you only have yourself and your apartment, your roof over your head, or you could have a full-fledged family where you have a wife and kids and pets and a home and a boat and who knows what. Um, either way, it's like you got to make the rent. You gotta feed yourself or your family. You gotta
right,
cover all your bases. You take responsibility for everything, and so doing t-shirt art or I don't know, having a client to hire you for lunchbox art, or it's like
right,
things you never dream of doing.
yeah. But and
uh,
it's just
when
like,
you
sorry, go ahead.
uh, just gonna say, like, when you're first starting out and you're young and eager and say, I'm gonna be a world famous painter,
Right.
or whatever.
Yeah, and like Jersey has always said, he always talks about, writing the great American novel. Like that's how we tend, before we really know what we're doing, we tend to kind of approach comic books that way when you're before you kind of realize the realities of how hard it is to even create something good, let alone, and the thing is you don't focus on making the great American graphic novel or whatever. You just got to make good work, and those people who have done that, I think they were just working artists, and it just happened. You can't really plan that. So, and the whole integrity thing is like, I don't know, like it does. I mean, there's a difference between, like, maybe it's more integrity for you, like you said, you got to do your responsibilities. You have a kid you're taking care of. So, if you do that, lunchbox job or whatever, isn't more integrity to take care of your family?
Yeah.
What's wrong with doing some art? That's the whole point. You want to do some art and make a living off of it. Like, I mean,
Absolutely.
it's kind of silly, it gets kind of silly when people, say you're a sellout for certain things or whatever.
Yeah. Um, it's absolutely important, um, just to take it seriously and as a career, and to really go for it and make a living off of it, and not shy away from things, to consider everything, all avenues that you can make money. And you know, I was very limited, for the first part of my career. I was a comic book inker, and that's all I was doing. I did conventions and I did sketches there, but
Right.
uh, that was before internet. So I didn't really put myself out there other than inking comics, and I paid for it later on when Marvel and DC no longer had anything for me. It was a big struggle, um, to make that same kind of money. You
Right.
know, um, it's like all of a sudden I'm making a third what I made, and if I want to make what I was making, I have to work three times as hard, and that's impossible because I'm not that
Right.
fast an anchor.
Right. I'm
And it
assuming
was,
that kind of all came when like the whole comic crash type of stuff started happening.
yeah, it was a combination of everything. I mean, timing and whatnot. There was 9/11, which changed a lot of things. There was computers coming up, which changed a lot of things later on.
Right.
Um, there was less people using anchors. There was rates shrinking, which was part of the whole, yeah, just, comics not selling as much, less comic book stores. I mean, you can go on, but uh, you know what? Comics were thriving back then. Comics are still thriving.
Right.
Uh, if you're just looking at the numbers or whatever, and you're not looking at the big picture. Um, you know, it's a different world nowadays, and just like you know, car makers of the 50s and 60s not making as many cars today or whatever. It's because things change,
Right.
and you have to be able to adapt, and that extends into what we're talking about. Like, you gotta diversify at least a little bit in order to survive.
Right.
Be willing to put yourself out there, in as many ways as possible. That is part of the work, if you want to be successful.
Absolutely. Cool. 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 Well, yeah, I think we kind of dove into that topic pretty well and stuff. Definitely got into some of the nuts and bolts of what it's like to kind of do the freelance thing, and definitely some cool stuff in there. So, I guess we can kind of end it there. That was kind of a good way to end it. And you know, again, I appreciate you coming on. And you've always been an awesome support to me, and I've seen to many others as well. And so like I really appreciate that, and just seeing you guys, you and Jeff and stuff, like make it happen and work it out is huge encouragement. And so thank you for that.
Thank
And
you so much for having me on. I forget what appearance this is on your show. Uh,
yeah,
at least my third.
yeah,
You know, I'm 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 a big fan of what you do, and you're putting yourself out there, and you're encouraging others. And uh, I see the same in you, and you're a super talented guy. I hope that the day comes when you say screw you to the day job and for you to live the life that you really really want, and that you do it in safety and that it works for you.
absolutely.
um, you
Yeah,
know.
that'll be a day to celebrate for sure. Cool, man. So again, like I said, I appreciate you being on here, and all the people listening, you know, please, go help the guy out. They got, it's just a good way to invest in another artist. I think one of the big things is we need to help each other out, and that's one thing that's really cool about the comic book community. Um, it's always been outside of obviously a few people here and there, that you hear like stories at conventions or whatever. But outside of that, like for the most part, the comics community is pretty awesome. Like we all realize how hard it is, to try to make it doing this stuff, and I think that contributes to it. And a lot of people are very willing to help other people out as far as when it comes to from artist to artist and stuff like that. And this is a great way, a great opportunity to help another fellow artist out. And the link is in the show notes. Even now, I already put it in there. But once it gets uploaded, it'll be there. It'll be on my site, donkeyjawprojects.com. And it's also in the YouTube show notes. So, stop over to his GoFundMe, Peter's GoFundMe thing, and help a brother out. You know what I mean? And it also, if you could share it, even if you can't, put down some money, if you could share it, or also if you would like to donate some art, I'm sure you could message Peter, and he'll be more than willing to, have that be something to help, because tomorrow, I guess I didn't really mention it exactly, but tomorrow, Monday, they're going to be kind of launching that, I think, on the Artcasters, and there's going to be a list of a bunch of different artists donating some art that where they'll just have their own eBay thing, and that money will go towards the GoFundMe initiative.
Yeah, that was really an idea Jeff came up with. You, you can be a part of that. If anybody's interested, we can continue to do it after. It's just another way to bring money to the campaign and definitely help us out. But yes, starting tomorrow, we're going to be posting artwork that you can bid on, and hopefully buy, and all those funds will be going to the campaign. Add to that. And yeah, I mean, it also helps that, if you see any of those posts, share those posts. If we can get the bids up, that's an improvement too.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a great way to contribute if you don't have much money. And I'm gonna be doing both. I already threw in a little cash in there, but I know I could probably make more for the cause, by donating some art. So I'm gonna try to do that as well. So,
So thank you everybody ahead of time.
absolutely. All right, so I guess that's it, guys. Thank you guys, everybody, for listening. And Peter, just mention your websites and all that. And like I said, the links will be in the show notes.
Yeah, well, I'm on YouTube, Peter Palmiotti. Facebook, I'm Peter Palmiotti. I have my fan page, which is growing. It's Peter Palmiotti, artist writer. Is the what is it? URL. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Pinterest. Everywhere. Just Google Peter Palmiotti, you'll find me. And yes, I got to get my website up. That will happen.
Right. Yeah, everybody's always got to update their website, me included.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, cool, man. So yeah, that's about it, guys. Thanks again for watching, and this is episode number 70, and here Marshall Couture signing out of DonkeyJawProjects.com. See you guys next week. Where's the button?